And welcome once again to Living in the 21st Century. Today in the studio with me, I have Linda Plout. She is the Director for Arts and Culture in the Mayor's Office, City of Newton. Thank you for joining me here, Linda, today in Living on the 21st Century.
Thank you for inviting me.
Beautiful. Well, we have a lot in store for the performing arts this year and the art festival. Would you care to enlighten us a little bit on what would have brought you into so much passion for the arts and what you're going to be doing for Newton this year?
Well, I must say that there's a great deal being planned. As a matter of fact, today somebody asked how many separate events do you have, and we have 93,
Wow.
April, May, and June. When the festival started 3 years ago, the mayor and I thought that it would last a weekend. And we called together all the arts organizations in the city, had a meeting, and 100 separate arts organizations showed up. So when we said to them, well, what would you like to do? Some of them said, you know, we have some events already planned. Others said, we've always wanted to plan some events, but we need the publicity, we need the help. Some people said, gee, maybe we could do some collaborations. So the idea of the mayor was to have some sort of a festival that would highlight the arts in Newton. But neither one of us had any idea how big this would get.
Well, I am really amazed. Over the past years, I would have seen a lot of activities concerning the festival in the city of Newton, especially Newton Center, there on the green. But this year, I recognize there's so much more going on opposed to last year. Could you share a little bit more on that for us?
Yeah. I'll give you an idea. I just came back from a meeting with a group of curators. So we're going to have a sculpture exhibition on the grounds of City Hall. Now, we've never done that before. And it turns out that one of our curators of this exhibition, Evan Morse, just received a $12,000 grant from the Massachusetts Cultural Council for his own work. And he's going to be spending the spring in Carrara, Italy, carving on marble. So he brought us this idea. The beauty of the festival is that we could be open to new ideas.
Beautiful.
It really is. And one of the reasons we're able to impart is that the mayor brought us into City Hall, brought our office into City Hall. For about 8 years, we were at the Carr School, the Carr Elementary School, and then when the Newton Public Schools needed that building back as a swing space, the mayor said, come to City Hall. And I said, sure, but where? And he had a wonderful location for us, and then he said, the auditorium can be yours as a cultural center.
Beautiful.
So we have had space, and we've had his support, and that's why I think it's really taking off.
Excellent. Concerning the sculpturing, what type of sculpturing? Will this be out of ice, or will this be out of wood, or specifically marble?
Well, everything. So today we had 26 applications, and the medium went from ceramic to marble to glass, metal. There was even a paper application. And I don't know what the curators have decided on, but the beauty of it is we could site some of this sculpture on the back, on the west side of City Hall near the War Memorial Auditorium, or the front of City Hall, so that we have a very large palette here in Newton.
Beautiful.
And so it gives us a lot of flexibility.
Excellent. You know, when I sit down and I really look and really dissect the performing arts, I don't know if many people really understood clearly the potency of how this can integrate people, how it can really build and strengthen microeconomies within cities and so forth. Do you see in the near future that you can have this same art culture being one of the strong economic performers within Newton?
Well, the mayor was very clear from the beginning, and the Massachusetts Cultural Council is very clear that the arts are very good for business.
Yes.
They're very good. First of all, when you have a rich cultural community, people want to move here. So people will buy houses, and then once they buy houses, they go to restaurants and grocery stores, and you know, they shop. So, but on top of that, what we try to do is spread the events throughout all the villages, so that our piano project, for example, is sited in 9 different villages.
Yes.
So we have somebody or a group of people decorating a piano, painting
Yes.
a piano, and that one of 9, and those 9 pianos are going to be put out in the village centers for the month of, probably May through maybe even July or August. And so people will go to those pianos, and then they'll go to the village centers.
Excellent. One of the other things that I would really like to find out, do you foresee where in some time, maybe in the future, that you can push the performing arts to a level where you have foreign participants just coming here to Newton, where you can strengthen integration from a wider spectrum, not only from just here in the Commonwealth, but from other shores, from different countries? Is that a possibility that you may be considering in the future?
Well, it always comes down to money.
Okay.
It always comes down to money. Who is going to, whatever travel goes on, bringing groups in, it requires money to bring them in and to support them while they're here. Another very large challenge we have in the city of Newton is performance space.
Right.
So that if you bring in a group and you have expenses, then you have to be able to charge a ticket price large enough and sell enough tickets in a large venue to pay your expenses, and that's really where the challenge is.
Right. I'm more concerned about creating an atmosphere where the level of performance is so strong that people would want to desire and find their own financial ways, or making their own way to finance themselves, to come here and participate among some of the best and some of the elite. I think not only in terms of performing arts, but in most projects, I find that people believe from under the category of hospitality that if we want to have foreign visitors come here with their talents and to perform their talents, that we have to be the one to bring them here and house them and so forth. And there are some countries that leave that avenue open. If you so desire that you're going to find, and you are so good at what you do, then you should be so good enough to create your own wealth and package and so forth to come here and perform amongst some of the best. I think government have to possibly start looking at it from that standpoint, promoting the arts in such a way that others would want to gravitate towards it from outside. So we make it available to the world. I often say to people that the world is not so big anymore. Technology had made it very small. So if we can capitalize on technology and have what we are doing in Newton put to the world, I'm quite sure that there are those, you may not get the whole world, but a very minute, and that minute is just enough to satisfy the economic growth and the participation of cultural integration among some of the Newton residents.
Well, we certainly try in our events, and always have for many, many years, to offer our facilities at City Hall either for one cultural event, and so one culture will come in. The Russians have done it, the Israelis have done it, the Chinese have certainly done it, the Indians have done it, to come in at City Hall on a weekend, take over the entire City Hall, the building, the entire building, and have festivals, and those have been very successful. And then outdoors, so for example, I think it's the weekend of the 13th and the 14th, we have a big multicultural festival planned for the Newton Center Green, which certainly will bring a lot of people into the center. There'll be a lot of restaurant going as a result of it.
Yes.
And there'll be craftspeople and lots of entertainment, dancers, musicians. So we do is whatever we can. Festivals like this are really funded, and I brought the banner that I know that we have here, that they're really in Newton and in the United States generally paid for by sponsorships, by business sponsorships. The federal government in Europe, or the central governments in Europe and elsewhere, put money, a great deal of money towards the arts. And the tradition, unfortunately, in the United States is that they don't. and leave it up to businesses, leave it up to the states. So the arts in the United States struggle all the time to find funding. And if there are foreign, governments that are interested in, and I know in other countries, there's a Ministry of Education and Culture, and they support performing groups and they back them up. Of course, the answer is always yes. We would love to have whoever's available. Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, the possibility do exist that we can utilize the performance arts here in Newton as a stepping stone to really encourage economic growth. Now, we have heard recently, since the government had changed, that the city of Newton may be very well lined up to be rid of $12.5 million because Massachusetts as a whole was considered a sanctuary for illegal immigration. And even though there's no really factual proof of it, this can really hurt some economies, some cities to some degree. What would you tell those other cities who may looking for other methods in raising their revenue? Would you inform them that the performing arts may be a way to go and focus some energy on not just local, but taking performing arts to a whole new level as a way of strengthening the economy?
Well, the Massachusetts Cultural Council has done a number of studies on the economic impact of the arts in any community, and the number of dollars generated by concert goers and museum goers is tremendous and adds to the economy tremendously. So the arts are underfunded now, so I don't see any great advantage to cutting them even further. But at the same time, everybody has to be careful about looking to the business community at the same time. So our festival, for example, is sponsored, our platinum sponsor is the Village Bank. Now we all know in this community how generous the Village Bank is. But they, Joe DeVito at the bank volunteered 3 years ago to be the lead sponsor for this festival. And there are many sponsors and businesses that have come along behind him. But he really took the leadership, and there are business people who understand that the arts are good business. And they generate more business, and they generate a climate where people want to move to that town and buy houses in that town because there's so much going on. The Newton Tab just recently gave us a column, an arts column, which we never had before, and I'm sure it's in part because of the festival. We're calling it Spotlight On because we're putting the spotlight on people who are involved in the arts all the time and who may not ever really get to be noticed in the local press especially. There are a lot of very world-famous people, sculptors and artists and painters who live in Newton. And sometimes it's surprising, oh boy, I didn't know that person lived here. So we're going to be putting the spotlight on. So I think because of the festival, there's a heightened awareness of the arts in Newton, and people are energized by it.
Yes. Do you see also that you can have a combination of directors from various cities come together and try to build or raise funds to build a multi-art performing arts center? The reason why I ask that, and I've seen in my own very eyes that there are many cultures out there who really want to perform on an international stage. Art in America, I find that, especially performing arts, people only gig and try to get along and make a living from it on Saturdays. They look for a gig to play and so forth. But I think people should make a strong earning from the things they like. And if there's one thing that I believe, and this is something, by the way, that I was trying to have established in my organization, and I really want to work towards it, and that is to have a multi-purpose performing arts center, that every segment in the performing arts, that you can have something on a monthly basis going that can reach out to the world to participate in, which will have a continuous flow of visitors coming to the country, and that by doing this all year long, we can have a significant flow of economic growth, a continuous growth for stores. This will create employment now for younger people. It will give the arts even more purpose for young people to go after and really develop it. And I don't know if government see it from that standpoint. Since it's very little that they're contributing to it, I think that the time has come that they should take a new look and a new approach to the performing arts and say, you know what, maybe we should do something like this, because younger people now can have a purpose to recognize their career could be more meaningful. So
marvelous idea.
I mean, it's a big piece to bite off, but there are millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, that the federal government throw away every year in things that ain't really worthwhile. And I think that city officials should start really looking at things from a micro level that could really build the economy up. We know for a fact that those who are up here ain't really concerned much about performing arts. They're concerned about performing dollars. And I believe that the time have come that rather than just having something once a year or for a season, that this should be a continual thing, that by the time a student graduate, they can say definitely, well, you know what, there's a career for me in this. I don't know, what would be your input on that from that standpoint?
Well, you know, in Newton is very built up. There are certain areas now, the N2 corridor between Needham and Newton, building new housing, building new office buildings. I don't know that there's any plan for a cultural center. Okay. For a cultural center, you need very large money, and there are so many demands on the city government, as much as I would like to say that it was a high priority with the city. They're building schools now. I mean, 5 new schools are being built. That's where the priority is. There's a need for schools. And schools, as much as important as culture is, schools do come first. So that's where we are in Newton. Maybe down the road, after the schools are rebuilt and are really in the condition that we all want them to be, maybe the energy of the administration could be towards some sort of an art center. Certainly people over the years have talked about it. There have been several locations in Newton that certain people have said, gee, that would be fabulous to put a cultural center in there. Someplace large enough for a symphony orchestra. For the moment, I don't see that it's on top of the list. It's always on the list because, of course, who would say no to anything like that? But it's always about limited resources, what your priorities are, what you need to take care of first, and you know, and then maybe someday we can think about a cultural center. Yeah, that's
very good. What was your? Because I found that you're very ambitious in this segment. What really though got you into the move of the performing arts and so forth? What where do you see yourself going in the future from here in terms of making even a more potent impact on what you're doing?
Well, I certainly grew up in a very musical family. So my passion to the arts came certainly through music. And when I moved to Newton, I was a history teacher, and with 2 small children. And so being a history teacher is a very complicated job. It's not as if you know, you're going over 3 centuries every couple of days. It's very complicated. So I decided I wanted to do something different, and there was a small program called Arts in the Parks that was through the Parks and Recreation Department. And I applied for that job, got that job, and it's, you know, we've built it over the years. We now run 125 over and above the festival. We run events all year long. We have concerts during the summer, Sunday nights, Tuesday afternoon for children. We run a very ambitious theater program at the City of Newton, at City Hall. Our casts for our youth theater, we have the 369 10 shows a year. We cast them first come, first serve, so it's not, the children audition for their parts, but they sign up, they're in. So we have over 200 youngsters a year in a theater program. That's new, that's what we've contributed. Melissa Bernstein, who's the director of theater through our program, just started an adult theater called the Newton Theater Company. We haven't had a theater company like this in a very long time.
Excellent.
And so, you know, we're working in the arts all year long. We expand, excuse me, we expand, we have major event celebrations. So when the nation has some sort of a big celebration, the 4th of July, we're doing it. At the end of the year, for the mayor's New Year's open house, it's all cultural. We just bring concerts and performers and dancers at every single opportunity.
Excellent.
We just realized Harvest Fair. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary of Harvest Fair. We have a spelling bee coming up, and that's the 18th anniversary. We get into volunteerism as well. When the nation was celebrating the 2000, a group of visionary women, primarily women, got together and said we wanted to do something that would be lasting. And so they started something called Newton Serves. And that's celebrating now. I think it's 18th year, 17th or 18th year. So we're doing things all year long. The festival has certainly added a great deal.
Excellent.
And really created a lot of new friendships among the organizations that
Excellent.
are participating. So I think it's really lively here. And I can only imagine just more and more and more.
Well, it sure excites me. I am amazed at how many young kids today are showing interest in getting involved in the performing arts, considering the distraction of technology, so to speak. I thought that it would have been something that would have been thrown behind them. But I must say that based on what you were saying, that you have a lot of young people who are showing real thoughtfulness for the performing arts.
Absolutely. I'll tell you one other program that we're instituting for the festival, and we've never done that before, is that there's so many string instrument players, adults as well as kids, who never get the opportunity to play in an orchestra, and we think we have booked an orchestra leader to bring a group together for a pop-up orchestra. I think it's Saturday, May 20th from 4 to 10 from 4 to 6 at Newton City Hall. And if you are a string player of any stringed instrument, you're welcome to come. And I think the program will be Vivaldi and Bach, and you can play in an orchestra.
Well, I think that is a breakthrough there for our young people, because there are young people who sometimes wonder how they can actually get involved and participate in some of these events. But I think for you to make this, create this atmosphere where if you have an instrument, just come on now and you can have an opportunity, that is brilliant.
It's really wonderful. And all you have to do is download the music, and we do ask you, anybody who comes, please practice. Come, practice before you come. But we wanted as many opportunities in the festival for people to participate.
Beautiful.
And I'll give you one other idea, and that is a poetry contest that Gray held, who's a member of our committee. Gray is running a poetry contest. Once the sculptures are selected, those selected poets will see the sculptures and write a poem that's as a reflection of that. So there's lots of, a festival, when you get a lot of talented people together, you get a lot of new ideas.
I am impressed. I'm glad that you mentioned Gray Hell. I am impressed. I spoke to him a little after our last meeting. And I am amazed of this rain poetry. I think it is water poetry.
The rain poetry.
I am really astonished, so to speak.
So what they're going to do is at the street in Chestnut Hill, they're going to write the winning poems in some sort of a material that is invisible, unless it gets wet. So if you throw a bucket of water on it or it rains, suddenly the poetry appears. On the base. I mean, Gray is terrific. So Gray also put poetry in Edmonds Park on the stone slabs. He came up with a method of embedding poetry so that if you take a walk through Edmonds Park, suddenly you see a poem.
I mean, it's unheard of, and his creativity is so good. And this is just a classic example of what you're going to be seeing
Yeah.
this year in the Festival of Arts, Newton Festival of Arts. And I think that people from other cities should come up and join us and
Oh,
see what's
yeah.
going on. I know for a fact you're going to have some performers coming from Boston and of Caribbean culture and
Yes.
doing their own thing. This is an exciting year.
I'll tell you, at the last meeting,
Sure.
you met the man who's here, who's a Maasai from Tanzania.
Okay.
You know, you don't know who your neighbors are, and the
Right.
beauty of this festival is that we're finding out we have neighbors from all over the world,
Yes.
and what a rich community we are, because we do.
Yes, yeah, I must say, this is the first thing I ever heard of that name.
Yeah.
But it is very educational that people get to understand these different names from different countries and what they do and so forth. But yes, I think that was interesting to hear what a Maasai really is. you
And
know.
he'll be at the festival on Sunday, May 14th.
Beautiful.
He'll be there,
Excellent.
as will people from, you know, all kinds of, all the cultures that we can find. And I
Yes.
just have to say that we're always open to new suggestions, so people should contact us
Sure.
at the Mayor's Office for Cultural Affairs and Newton Community Pride. And anybody has an idea, the way the sculpture
Yes.
exhibition came from Evan Morse, and Gray Held suggested the poetry. We're really open to new ideas, but I do have to tell you that if you come with an idea, you're the chairman of the event.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. Well, we are coming to the close of our program, but if there's anything finally that you would like to say to the residents in Newton, take this moment to feel free to say it.
Well, if the festival is for everybody, we'll be doing a mailing the 1st of April. You'll get a postal card listing half of the events, and a second postal card mailed to 37,000 households and businesses listing the rest of the events. The banners are going up on the streets with the sponsor's name. It's going to be a wonderful festival, open to
Beautiful.
everybody.
Beautiful. Well, Linda, thank you so much for
Thank you
joining me
very
here
much.
on Living in the 21st Century. And this is Linda Prout. She is the director from the Mayor's Office, City of Newton, of Arts and Culture. I want to thank those who are at home for joining us once again on Living in the 21st Century. Have a good night. Take good care.